Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that everything you experience, your wins, your failures, your relationships, even your perception of yourself
Yeah.
has been quietly shaped by one invisible force. It's not lot talent, not external circumstances, but your thoughts. Here's the truth. Your mind is the architect of your reality. That's not just motivational fluff. It's psychological fact and philosophical foundation. What you repeatedly think, you start to believe. What you believe, you begin to act on. And what you act on, you ultimately become. Think about this for a second. Every achievement you've ever had, every opportunity you've ever taken, it started as a thought, a single intangible spark in your mind. The world around you, your daily experiences are not purely objective. They are filtered through your perception, your beliefs, your internal narrative. And that means if you can change the way you think, you can literally change the way your world works. This is where most people get stuck. They believe thoughts are random, that they don't have control, but you do. You can choose which thoughts you entertain, which ideas you reinforce, and which narratives you allow to guide your behavior. You can train your mind like a muscle. And just like in the gym, it's just the results compound over time. Let's get real here. If every day you wake up and your first thoughts are about what's missing, what's wrong, how far you are from your goals, you are literally wiring your brain to focus on lack, limitation, and fear. You're rehearsing failure before the day even begins. But if you wake up and deliberately choose to focus on opportunity, on growth, on the things you can control, then your entire day shifts. And over weeks and months, your identity begins to shift. You stop playing small. You stop operating from scarcity. You start some possibilities where you used to see dead ends. This isn't about toxic positivity. It's about neurological reality. The brain has something called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's like a filter. It decides what information gets your attention. When you consciously focus on positive, constructive, growth-oriented thoughts, your AS begins to highlight things that align with that mindset. You start noticing solutions instead of problems. You start seeing opportunities you used to walk right past. It's not magics. This is why affirmations, visualization, and even journaling aren't just self-help trends. They're practical tools for reprogramming the way you think. But here's the catch. They only work. You do them consistently. You don't go to the gym once and expect results. You don't read one book and call yourself wise. The mind is no different. You have to train it every day. You have to protect your mind like it's sacred, because it is. Be ruthless about what you consume, who you listen to what you say to yourself. Because every input becomes part of the story you're writing. Eventually, that story becomes your external life. There's a reason elite performers, visionaries, and leaders all talk about mindset. It's not because they're trying to sound deep. It's because they know success begins long before action. It begins with identity, with belief, with intention. You want to change your life? Start by watching your thoughts. Catch the ones that drain you. Replace them with ones that serve you. Don't just think passively. Think on purpose every day, especially when it's hard, especially when it feels fake, because that's the moment your brain is listening most closely. And that's the moment change begins. You already have the power to rewire your reality. It's been there the whole time. It starts in your mind. And if you can control that, you can control everything else. It's just, your thought just reflections of who you are. They are instructions to who you are becoming. Choose them wisely. Everyone loves motivation. It feels good. It's fast. It's exciting. You watch a video, you hear a speech, you read a quote, and suddenly you feel like you can conquer the world. And maybe you do for a day or two, but then life happens. You hit traffic, you oversleep, someone says something that throws you off, and just like that, all that energy evaporates. You're back where you started. This is the problem with relying on motivationing. It's emotional fuel, and emotions are unstable. They fluctuate. They're influenced by sleep, food, weather, just stress. And if you build your life around how you feel in the moment, you'll always be at the mercy of chaos. You'll never have control. What actually moves the needle, what separates people who want success from the people who live it, is not motivation. It's consistency. Consistency is boring. That's why most people avoid it. It's not sexy. It's not flashy, but it works every time. The people who achieve aren't the ones with the most talent or the most drive. They're the ones who show up no matter what. In general, it's just they do the work even when they're tired, uninspired, or unrecognized. They've turned their goals into non-negotiables. There's a deeper psychological reason why this works. It's called behavioral reinforcement. Every time you do something consistently, even something small, you're reinforcing a pattern in your brain. That repetition creates familiarity, and your brain loves what it knows. The more often you do something, the easier it becomes to keep doing it. That's how habits are formed, not through motivation, but through repetition. Let me give you an example. If you wake up every morning and go for a 10-minute walk, not a marathon, just a walk, after a few weeks, your brain starts to expect that walk. It starts to want it. In general, it's just, you've carved a neural pathway. What was once effort becomes entity. You're no longer tries to exercise. You're someone who moves every day. See this shift? This applies to everything. work, relationships, fitness, learning, even mindset. The more consistently you practice a behavior, the more you internalize it. And here's the best part: consistency compounds. It's like interest. A little bit today may not look like much, but over time, those little actions multiply, they build momentum, and that momentum creates transformation. The reason most people don't stick to things isn't they're weak or lazy. It's because they expect change to feel big, fast, and dramatic. But real change is subtle. It's invisible. It's showing up when no one's watching. It's doing the reps when you'd rather skip. It's brushing your teeth for the mind, daily, automatic, and essential. There's also a philosophical layer here. Think about this: when you act consistently, even in the absence of motivation, you're making a statement. You're telling the universe and yourself that your values matter more than your mood, that your vision matters more than your convenience, that who you want to become matters more than how you feel today. That's character. That's character. It's integrity. And that's how you build a life that lasts. Now, and Jetto, this doesn't mean you should never rest or listen to your body. Consistency isn't perfection. It's not rigidity. It's returning to the path over and over, even after you stumble. In general, it's just discipline is not about being robotic. It's aligned and knowing your why. So clearly that skipping your process feels like betraying yourself. When you replace the question, do I feel like it, with, is this who I am? Everything changes. You stop negotiating with your future. You start executing, not because you're driven by hype, but because you built a system, a structure, a foundation. So don't chase motivation, build consistency. It won't feel as exciting. It won't give you butterflies, but it will give you progress. It will give you clarity, and eventually it will give you freedom. Motivation is a spark. Consistency is the engine. And if you want to go anywhere worth going, the engine is what gets you there. Have you ever noticed how the people around you can shift the energy in a room the moment they walk in? There's a reason for that. Our minds are wired to mirror, absorb, and amplify the emotions and behaviors of those closest to us. It's not some mystical voodoo. It's basic social psychology. When you surround yourself with people who doubt you, you start to doubt yourself. In general, it's just when you surround yourself with people who dream big and take action, you find your own ambitions swelling in response. Think about it. It's just, if you spend hours with someone who's chronically negative, who slings complaints like confetti, you'll find your own thoughts turning darker. You might roll your eyes, tell yourself you're above it. But the truth is your brain still records each comment, each sigh, each why bother. It files them away. And over time, your RAS, even that same filter we talked about earlier, begins to highlight evidence that life is pointless, that effort is wasted. Your internal world shrinks to match the narrow vision of your companion. Now flip that scenario. Spend your days around people who challenge you, who question your limits and refuse to accept your excuses. You'll notice something incredible. They'll pull higher potentials out of you didn't even know existed. It's a principle Amber Bandura called social learning theory. Basically, in general, it's just we learn by watching and imitating. When you're in the orbit of high achievers, you start to pick up their habits, their language, their standards. Here, it's just your idea of what's possible expands because they're link proof in front of your eyes. Philosophers have known this for millennia. Aristotle said that we become the average of our friends. It's just, he didn't mince words. Choose your companions wisely because they shape your character. And modern neuroscience backs him up. Mirror neurons fire when we observe someone performing an action or feeling an emotion. Your brain lights up as if it's happening to you. That means joy, confidence, grit. Those are contagious. If you spend time with someone who radiates purpose, you'll begin to feel that electricity too. But it's not just about positivity. It's about alignment. I think just, you don't need cheerleaders who clap regardless of your effort. You need people who will celebrate your wins, but also call you out when you're slacking. You need honest mirrors that reflect your strengths and your blind spots. A true growth environment is one where feedback is a gift, not an insult. It's where accountability partners you past plateaus, where mentors model what mastery looks like, and where peers turn every challenge into a shared adventure. This matters because success is rarely a solo endeavor. Look at any breakthrough in history. Scientists, artists, entrepreneurs, they all stood on the shoulders of giants or rallied a tribe around a cause. Even MrBeast, who's known for jaw-dropping generosity and wild experiments, built his empire by surrounding himself with a team that believed in the vision so wholeheartedly they'd film 5-hour shoots in freezing warehouses just to get the shot. When you embrace yourself in a culture of excellence, the standards become non-negotiable. That doesn't mean you have to hang out only with ultra and ambitious billionaires. Your circle can be diverse, but it must serve you. It must push you to be more courageous, more courageous, or compassionate. Ask yourself, are the people in my life inspiring me or draining me? It's just, are they making me feel like something extraordinary is possible, or are they whispering that it's too risky, too out of reach? You might think cutting ties with lifelong friends sounds harsh, but real friendship evolves. Sometimes the best way to honor a relationship is to admit it's no longer healthy, that you're growing in different directions, and that's okay. Growth can be messy, but it's always worth it. Seek out communities that share your values, whether it's a mastermind group, a local meetup, an online forum of creators, or a circle of entrepreneurs. Immerse yourself in that energy. Drink deeply from that well of possibility and watch how your own ambitions ignite. Remember, you are not an isolated island. Your environment writes the script for your life more than you realize. If you choose wisely, you're the director casting inspiring stars who elevate your story. But if you choose poorly, you become a supporting actor in someone else's drama. So here's what I want you to do next. Audit your inner circle. Notice who lifts you up and who pulls you down. Create space for the people who demand your best and replace the ones who settle for your worst. Because when you surround yourself with greatness, greatness becomes your new normal. You are the company you keep. Choose to keep company that sets your soul on fire. I think most people don't realize this, but the way you start your day is one of the most powerful predictors of the life you'll live. It sounds simple, maybe even cliché, but it's true in general. It's just the first 60 to 90 minutes of your day are not just about getting ready. They're about setting the tone for how your brain will operate, what kind of energy you'll carry, and how much control you'll have over your time, attention, and decisions. Let me put it this way. If you don't own your morning, someone else will. Your phone will, the news will, the notifications, the emails, the D-mail hijack your focus before you've even remembered who you are or what matters to you. Right. And once that happens, the rest of the day becomes reactive instead of intentional. You're chasing instead of creating, responding instead of leading. What's crazy is that this is entirely avoidable. You don't need a 3-hour ice bath, a yoga retreat, or a 10-step biohacker ritual. You just need to carve out a block of time in the morning. 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever you can, and make it sacred, not for the world, for you. For your clarity, your mindset, your mission. There's a reason elite performers across every industry have a morning routine. It's not hype, it's neuroscience. When you wake up, your brain is in a highly programmable state, that foggy feeling you get. That's called the theta state. It's a phase where your subconscious is more open to suggestion. Whatever you feed your mind during that window sticks, it imprints. And it either builds you or breaks you. So if you start your day scrolling through headlines, comparing your life to someone else's on Instagram, or jumping straight into work stress, you're programming stress and scarcity right into your neural wiring. You're teaching your brain and that the world is a threat you're already behind. And that becomes the which you see everything. But if you flip the script, if you start your day with intention, you reclaim control. Even 5 minutes of silence, of gratitude, of reflection, of movement, that shifts your chemistry. You activate your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focused decision-making and long-term thinking. You start operating like the leader of your own life, not just a passive participant. What you do in the morning doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. It could be journaling, reading a page of something that fuels your mind, taking a cold shower to jolt your system into alertness, going for a walk and breathing in fresh air before anyone else is awake. It's not about copying someone else's formula. It's about crafting your own rhythm, one that reminds you every single day, this is who I am. This is the life I'm building. And this is how I show up. And the reason this matters so much isn't because of productivity. It's about identity. Every time you follow through on your morning routine, no matter how small, you're reinforcing of yourself that's disciplined, grounded, and intentional. You're proving to yourself that you don't need to wait for motivation to strike. You are motivation. You are consistency. You are focused. And once you're that identity in the morning, it follows you into the day. You don't just react to problems, you solve them. In general, it's just, you don't just get through meetings, you lead them. You don't just drift, you move with direction. That's the hidden power of a strong morning. It doesn't just set up your day, it strengthens your character. People underestimate how small hinges swing big doors, but the morning is that hinge. Get that right, and everything else starts to move. There's also something deeply philosophical here. The morning is your first vote of the day. Before anyone else gets to influence you, you're casting a vote for who you are. You're saying, I matter enough to take this time. My life matters enough to protect this space. My dreams matter enough to show up before the world starts shouting. And that builds something inside you, not just confidence, but a quiet kind of power, a calm internal certainty that you are in control of your life, even when the outside world isn't. So here's the challenging, I've stopped letting your mornings be accidents. Don't give your first most valuable energy away to chaos. Make your mornings a ritual, not a rush. Give yourself the advantage that most people ignore. In general, it's just the way you start your day becomes the way you live your life. So start like your future depends on it, because it does. Let's talk about one of the most uncomfortable but necessary truths in life. Pain is not the enemy. In fact, if you pay attention, pain is one of the most accurate feedback mechanisms you have. It tells you what needs to change, where to grow, and when to act. But most people don't listen to it. They run it, numb it, avoid it, and in doing so, they rob themselves of their greatest teacher. See, there's myth floating around that growth should feel good, that if you're on the right path, it'll be smooth, clear, and comfortable. But ask anyone who's done anything extraordinary, whether it's building a business, breaking an addiction, healing from loss, or mastering a craft, and they'll tell you the true thing: it hurts. Growth hurts. Change hurts. But that pain is information. It's not punishment. It's a signal. Think about working out. Your muscles don't grow from comfort. They grow from resistance, from being pushed beyond their limits. That soreness you feel after a tough workout, that's your body rebuilding itself stronger than before. And your mind works the same way. When you face discomfort, when you step outside the familiar and confront fear, failure, or challenge, you're building emotional and mental muscle. You're becoming more resilient, more aware, more equipped. But here's the twist: not all pain is useful. Some pain is toxic, some pain is avoidable. And the key is learning to distinguish between the pain that breaks you down and the pain that builds you up. There's a difference between suffering from bad decisions and struggling through meaningful progress. One drains you, the other transforms you. So how do you tell the difference? You ask yourself these: is this pain taking me somewhere? Is it connected to a larger purpose, a deeper value, a greater version of myself? If the answer is yes, lean into it. Don't numb it. Don't escape it. Use it. Just let it refine you. This is where emotional maturity comes in, because growth is not about pretending everything's okay. It's about having the courage to sit in the discomfort, to feel what needs to be felt. And to keep moving forward with clarity. It's about trusting that there's meaning on the other side, even if you can't see it yet. There's a quote I love that says, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." That's not just metaphorical. It's literal. Conversation you're avoiding, the project you're procrastinating, the truth you're not willing to face. That's the cave. And the moment you step into it, you reclaim power. You stop being a victim of your pain and start becoming the author of your growth. Psychologically, this is backed by something called post-traumatic growth. The idea that struggle, when processed correctly, can lead to higher levels of functioning. People who've endured hardship and taken responsibility for their healing often come out more focused, more grounded, and more connected to purpose. They don't just survive, they evolve. And the crazy part, it's usually the struggle that gave them their edge. The breakdown became the breakthrough. The loss became the clarity. The pain became the path. But here's where most people get it wrong. They wait. They wait for the pain to disappear before they take action. They wait for the fear to subside before they step forward. They wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect timing, the perfect mindset. And the problem is they never move, because pain doesn't go away by being ignored. It only grows louder. You need to wait to feel ready. You need to move while you're scared. In general, it's just, you need to act while you're uncertain. The healing happens in the motion. The clarity comes from the doing. And once you understand that pain is not the opposite of, but part of it, you become dangerous, because now you're not just chasing ease or convenience. You're chasing meaning. You're willing to struggle if it gets you closer to who you're meant to be. So the next time you feel resistance, the next time something hard shows up in your life, don't just ask, how do I make this go away? Ask, what is this here to teach me? Because that question changes everything. That question turns pain into power. Pain is a signal, not a sentence. Stop running from it. Start learning from it. It's just, let's talk about time, because if you really zoom out, it's the only currency that matters. No money, not status, not even energy. Time is the one resource you can't get more of. And yet most people treat it like it's endless. They procrastinate. They give hours, days, even years to things that don't truly matter, and then wonder why life feels empty or out of sync. Here's the reality: every single day, you're trading time for something. The question is, are you getting a good return? Or are you wasting the most valuable asset you'll ever own on distractions, doubts, and detours? People think the enemy of success is failure. It's not. It's not. The real enemy is distraction. Distraction robs you slowly. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in as just 5 minutes of scrolling. It disguises itself as productivity, answering emails, watching self-help videos, researching instead of doing. And before you know it, it's just, you've spent months preparing but not progressing, planning but not producing, waiting for the perfect time instead of realizing that this is the time. There's a concept called present bias in psychology. It means we tend to overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue long-term benefits. That's why it's so easy to choose Netflix over working out, or comfort food over disciplined eating, or endless scrolling instead of building that project you said mattered. But the danger is this: the future doesn't show up as a big dramatic event. It shows up as the accumulation of your small daily choices. Your life is being built one decision at a time, one moment at a time. And the people who understand this, who really get it, start treating their time with ruthless precision. They're not rigid, they're intentional. They know that saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else. So they stop saying yes to anything that doesn't move them toward who they want to become. This isn't about becoming robotic or grinding 24/7. It's about living on purpose. It's about becoming aware that every hour you spend is an investment, and you'll either look back in 10 years proud of what you built or regretful about what you wasted. Now, this doesn't mean you need to fill every second with activity. Stillness is important, but there's a huge difference between intentional recovery and unconscious distraction. One restores you, the other drains you. So don't confuse laziness with recharging. Be honest with yourself. Is this helping me move, or is it keeping me stuck? There's a powerful exercise I use all the time. Imagine your ideal life, how you want to feel, what you want to create, the kind of person you want to become. Now ask yourself, is how I'm spending my today consistent with that vision? because if it's not, something has to change. And the good news, you don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Just start where you are with what you have and get real about where your hours are actually going. Start auditing your days, pay attention, track your time for a week. You'll be shocked at how much of it slips through your fingers without even realizing. Time isn't just slipping away from you. It's being spent often on things that don't align with your priorities. And once you see that clearly, you can start to redirect it consciously, deliberately toward the life you actually want. The philosopher Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He said that over 2,000 years ago, and it's still true today because nothing has changed. We all get the same 24 hours. The difference isn't time, it's how we use it. And here's the paradox: when you start protecting your time, when you stop giving it away so easily, you actually feel like you have more of it. You feel lighter, more focused, more alive. It's just, you're no longer drowning in business. You're designing your life, not just reacting to it. That's the shift. That's the superpower. Understanding that time is your greatest lever. When you master how you spend your minutes, you change the trajectory of your years. You stop waiting for life to happen and you start building it day by intentional day. So the next time you say, "I don't have time," stop. That's not the truth. The truth is you do have time. You're just not using it like your future depends on it, because it does.